Everybody wants a little luxury in their life, but owning an old luxury car doesn't always end well. I mean, how many old Maseratis have you seen on the road lately? But that doesn't mean you have to give up, because today we've got a whole handful of amazing luxury cars that are insanely reliable, and what's more, they won't cost you an arm and a leg to own. Right off the bat, we've got a car that really can do it all, the BMW 340i. We've said it before, BMWs don't tend to make best reliability lists like this one, but the 340i is an exception. These cars have beautifully made and comfortable interiors, modern tech, great power and performance, and serve up super solid reliability. BMW has turned a new leaf when it comes to dependability, and it all really boils down to the B58 straight 6. It's got a beefy diesel-derived engine block, an innovative thermal management system, a single twin-scroll turbo, and a trick air-to-water intercooler that keeps everything coming into the engine as clean and as cold as that glass of ice water at 3 a.m. The B58 straight 6 is one of those engines that comes around once or twice in a decade that ticks all the boxes. It's powerful, smooth, reliable, and doesn't sound too bad either. And if that noise sounds familiar, that's because this is the same engine that Toyota plopped into the new Supra. Wonder why they call it the modern 2JZ. It's certainly a big improvement from the old N54 and even the N55 for that matter. But while the engine and the delicious ZF 8-speed transmission are definitely the centerpiece to why the 340i is such a good luxury car, there's also the fact that it won't cost you a fortune to own. Here's a real pretty 2016 example with that magnificent B58 and a price tag in the mid-17s. That's a lot of car for the money, folks. But so is this next one. Real quick guys, if you're in the market for any of the cars on today's list, or any car in the world for that matter, you have to check out our friends at Auto Tempest. Link is pinned in the first comment below. This is the Audi S4. Like the BMW, this is another German-made sedan with 6 cylinders, forced induction, and solid dependability, but it's pretty darn different than that 3 Series. This is the Audi S4, more specifically the B8.5 generation, which started in 2013. It has a direct-injected supercharged V6, an engine that with regular maintenance is a real gem in the used luxury segment. When equipped with the complex S-tronic dual-clutch transmission, it's not necessarily the simplest drivetrain. But Audi got their right when they put things together in the S4. Very little goes wrong with these cars, and in stock tune, you've got over 300 horsepower tickling away at your right foot. Audi has always expertly blended sport and luxury with a particular level of taste that I think is nearly the best in the world. The interior is well laid out, everything is nice to the touch, and even though you don't get a touchscreen for infotainment, the MMI system works well. Of course, all S4s have Audi's trademark Quattro all-wheel drive system as standard, which allows you to drive this car year-round without fear of harsh conditions. And I'd argue that that in itself is luxury too. Now, you'd think that a supercharged Audi sport luxury sedan would cost a hefty dollar no matter the year, right? Well, wrong. This stunning black example from 2014 sold for less than 16 grand. That combination of performance, design, and comfort is hard to find anywhere else for that amount of cash. And that one's a manual. Real quick guys, if you're in the market for any of the cars on today's list, or any car in the world for that matter, you have to check out our friends at Auto Tempest. Link is pinned in the first comment below. I hope you're not sick of Audis yet, because we're going back to back here, baby, with none other than the Audi Q5 and its overachieving sibling, the SQ5. So I guess it's back to back to back. Anyways, you might be wondering why both the Q5 and S4 are here, and it's because the Q5 uses the same masterpiece of a 3-liter supercharged V6 from the S4. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Audi made sure to utilize these great powertrains in as many models as they could. I mean, I put my mom in a 3-liter Q5 and my wife in a 3-liter Q7. I certainly didn't do any of that because I wanted to spend my weekends fixing their cars. It's truly no wonder why the Q5 is so popular now. You see, the B8 and 8.5 generations with this great engine proved to thousands and thousands of people that a German SUV, and an Audi at that, could be reliable and low maintenance enough to justify owning it. Not to mention, customer satisfaction rates with the Q5 are always pretty darn good. And while you would pay a premium buying one of these things new, nowadays, the B8 generation Q5s could be easily in your price range. Take this one for example. A 2013 Q5 with the supercharged V6 and some pretty sick off-road mods went for just $14,000. And if you look harder, you could easily find a completely stock example for even less. Now, those Audis might have taken you by surprise, but I've got an absolute shoo-in for you, the Lexus GS. Shocker, right? A Toyota product making a list of reliable vehicles. These cars are essentially bulletproof. Whether it's a newer GS 350 with the 3.5-liter V6 or an older GS 430 with the absolutely amazing 4.3-liter V8, aside from driving one head-on into a tree, there's not much you can do to kill one of these luxury sedans. Plus, the 350 came with all-wheel drive options, which would make it kind of the ultimate all-weather car. Sort of like the Audis we mentioned earlier. And I'd argue that there are very few interiors more comfortable than that of a Lexus. The materials, ergonomics, seating positions, and everything in between makes spending time in something like a GS an absolute treat. And the combination of comfort and reliability is something that Lexus has a long track record of. I mean, Cars.com gave the GS 350 a 4.9 out of 5 for reliability, and that's about as close to perfect as you can get, folks. The cherry on top is they're probably cheaper than you thought a Lexus would be. Looking at the 2013 model year GS, we can see that used prices have fallen over 9% since last year to a $16.5 average. For a car with this much to offer on all fronts, that's a bargain that will last you forever. Up next is, and you guys are all gonna think I'm nuts, but it's another BMW. In fact, it's one of their best products, the X5. Consumer Reports literally said that the current 2024 X5 is, and I quote, one of the best vehicles we've ever tested. And while it's true a brand new X5 is not cheap at all, the more affordable and older used examples have a lot of what makes the newest one such an overachiever. And much like the Q5s we touched on with you earlier, this X5 shares its calling card with its little brother, the 3 Series. Of course, I'm talking about the B58 Straight 6. All of these amazing attributes that this 3-liter brings to the 340i, it also brings to the X5. But the X5 is more than just a great engine. Its driving dynamics rival that of some of the most nimble sedans, and as far as luxury, well, it's got it in spades. Top-notch materials, heated and cooled seats in most trims, and a ride that makes even the harshest roads turn to butter. And like I said, those used models, while not cheap, won't cost you a fortune either. Take a look here. For the 2019 X5, prices have dropped over 21% in the last year and now currently sit right around $33,000. So not as affordable as, say, the Lexus GS, but an old Lexus doesn't have standard wireless CarPlay and LED headlights either. It's a really solid deal for the reliability you will get from this package. And if you've got the budget and are looking for a midsize SUV, I genuinely don't think you can do better than this. Now, you might have been watching this video of luxury vehicles and thought, I think we're missing a Benz. Well, not anymore, because up next is the W212 E-Class. Most enthusiasts, and honestly, anyone who knows what they're talking about, considers the W212 E-Class not only one of the best E-Classes ever made, but one of Mercedes' best cars of the 21st century, period. Both the 3.5-liter V6 and the big V8 E-Class are all wonderfully reliable cars that rightfully garner praise from those who have owned them. And the diesel-powered cars are excellent as well. Of course, this is a Mercedes-Benz. If there's one thing you can count on, it's comfort and quality. Mercedes always starts with the flagship, which is their S-Class, and has everything trickle down into smaller and less expensive models. The E-Class is essentially just a baby S-Class, and that's probably the best compliment any luxury car can receive. And because the W212 has had some time to depreciate on the market, the cost of entry is one of the most attractive on this list. This gorgeous dark blue E350 4MATIC sold on BAT for just over $13K. I feel like in the near future, more people are gonna wise up to how awesome these cars are, so go buy one before someone else snatches them all up. But of course, it's not just the Germans that make good luxury cars, because the Infiniti Q50 takes the conversation back to Japan. The first generation Q50 is a luxury sedan that most people don't pay any attention to, even though they definitely should. To be honest, I think a lot of people checked out of the Infiniti camp the day the G35 and G37 went out of production. Of course, those were iconic models that made Infiniti what they are today. But don't count out the newer Q50, because this chassis and drivetrain comes together for one of the best luxury values on the market. The VQ37 VHR engine that was fitted to the 2014 and 2015 Q50, along with its 7-speed automatic transmission, will go down as one of Infiniti's greatest pairings when it comes to performance and reliability, even if the engine does sound like it's named after a brother laserjet printer. And the engine itself gets a lot of hate for its trombone soundtrack. But everyone forgets to mention just how reliable these things are when taken care of. It's a 3.7-liter V6 that makes a more than respectable 328 horsepower, enough to add a dash of sport to that luxurious soup. And check this out. The 2012 Q50 has dropped in price over 15% since last year, and it now sits at a real cool 14 grand on average. Now, this might not be the world standard for luxury like the E-Class could be, but for price and performance, it gives every other car on this list a run for its money. And between you and me, I think it's one of the better looking cars on this list as well. So which one would you jump at? Something sporty like the supercharged S4, or maybe the cushy and quiet E-Class? Let us know down below and tell us which other cheap, reliable luxury cars we missed. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe for more Ideal content. My name's Trav, this is Ideal. Again, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.